Welcome to Football or Soccer with me, Sam Palmer.
And me, Tony Tafe.
You're getting happier and happier each week. Every time I see your smile is a bit bigger, Tone.
It's a little bit bigger. The cheeks are creasing a little bit more. They're going to age me, this team. Yeah, I know. I thought last week was the perfect week. This week was the perfect week.
It was. I think it was. And I've got to say, I think we'll come into it and everything obviously later, but I think Arsenal are toast in the title now.
Maybe.
9 points there.
11 games, though. 11 games.
It is, but you've got to look at, they've got to play Liverpool twice in that and City. So they've got to beat you, basically. Twice, really, or draw and beat you. It can be done, obviously.
Yeah.
But they are on a bit of a slide.
I mean, the only thing I look at is there's just no way that we don't have a hiccup in us. There's no way. Liverpool.
I agree.
As when I say we, I mean Liverpool. There's just no way. I mean, and if we don't, I said this to you last week, it'll be the best first season for a Premier League manager ever. If we don't.
Yeah, I think it will be. Especially as we said last week, no signings. One signing, Chiesa, who hasn't played. So there's basically no signings.
No signings.
But even with one signing is ridiculous.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, good week. But don't write Pep off. Don't write Pep off. I know you've been saying to me, for weeks now, they don't look right. And I don't disagree with you. But he'll come and haunt you in your dreams, that motherfucker. As a Liverpool fan, I've seen it so many times. I've seen so many times when they don't have good starts to the season, and it's like remember what's the Halloween movie? Michael Myers. Michael Myers. Well, at the end of every movie, they think we're done with him. He's in a mental hospital, or he's in jail, or he's dead. They kill him at the end of every movie. And then 15 minutes into the next movie, he's hiding under your bed with a machete. but Pep's hiding under your bed with 45 points in his hands. Saying, I'm not going to lose another game till the end of the season. And then every Liverpool fan runs out of the house screaming. That's Pep. He's never write him off, never underestimate him. He is, listen, I hope I'm wrong, but he is absolutely, he's going to be there until the last day. I'm sure of it.
I agree. And maybe it is, Pep said something at the weekend. I think he said, look, we've won 6 out of the past 7. Maybe it's time someone else is going to actually challenge. And that is a really fair point. I wonder if, I do think injuries are going to play a massive part in this season, because especially, and we're already seeing that, I think, with the extra games that we're playing. We've just come off a Euros season. We're now talking about maybe City are going to play up to 70 games this year, which
with the Club World Cup stuff.
This Club World Cup.
Yeah.
And internationals are more. I know he's in a big argument with England this week because they've taken Jack Grealish.
He said he's barely trained for the couple of months or something like that.
Yeah, and look, I was looking at City's injuries this year, and I think all the big teams, Arsenal were saying their injuries. They had Odegaard back this week, but City have lost. Obviously, Rodri losing the best player in the world is going to hurt any team.
Yeah.
They've also not had De Bruyne, Doku, Grealish, for extended periods. So there's a lot of, they have got injuries, but
that's part Arsenal. Of life, isn't it? It's like saying no other team has injuries. Liverpool,
exactly that.
Do you know what?
Haven't got a goalkeeper.
Well, Liverpool, I was thinking about this. I was walking my dog this morning and I was thinking about it. For no specific reason other than just I wanted to, I was thinking about it. And Liverpool have lost arguably the best goalkeeper in the world. Arguably. He's definitely in the conversation. we're just extremely lucky that our number 2 is the best number 2 on the planet.
Yeah, I wonder how long Liverpool can keep him.
Not for another season.
Because do you know what? I've been watching him. He's really, really good.
He's superb. But what's actually surprised me more than anything is that we signed, can't even pronounce the guy's name, but the Georgian keeper, right, who's brilliant as well. He plays for Valencia, I think. We've signed another keeper. Like, you can't. The good keepers are not easy to keep happy if they're not playing every single week. And so this Kelleher lad, he's been there since he was a kid. He's had 3 or 4 seasons where he's deputised for Alisson and never let us down.
He never has he?
Never let us down. But he's also pulled us out of the shit a few times as well. It's not just that he's been reliable and just okay. He's been superb. So I think he goes in the summer. But Liverpool, I don't know. We need to start thinking about why Alisson is injured so often, because he does get it. He's been injured for a sizable amount of the time for the last 3 seasons now.
Last season he was out for the back end of the season, wasn't he?
Yeah. And the season before he was, but only for a few weeks, not as much. But we need to start thinking about, okay, we're going to put all of our faith in Alisson. And I think Alisson's the best goalkeeper to ever play for Liverpool. I love him. But if we're going to put all our faith in him, let's not be silly about it, you know?
There must be a few people at Liverpool thinking, have we got our number 1 sitting there right now? And actually Alisson's maybe the man to move on. Because he's younger.
He's a lot younger.
The injuries, they're going to be thinking of injuries, things like that. Yeah. This is a keeper that they could maybe have for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. And they could let him go and keep Alisson maybe for another. How old's Alisson now? I don't actually know how old
he's
Alisson
not that
is.
Old. He's 30. I think he's 32 or 33, which for a keeper is not old. Is not old.
But you've got to look at 10 years over maybe the next 2 years. So there'll be someone at Liverpool, I would think, saying, look, we might let Keller go, keep Alisson, but then in 2 years, we've got to go and buy a keeper for 80, 70,
well,
60, 50 million.
They've just bought this keeper who plays for Valencia, and then they loaned him back to them for the season, which is why I think that for some reason, and I don't know what the reason is, for some reason, somebody doesn't fancy Kelleher at Liverpool. Because, I mean, and this keeper's a proper keeper. Do you know what? I wish I knew we were going to speak about this, because I'd learn how to pronounce his name. We are
going a bit off our topic,
yeah, we're going a little bit off, because I don't even know how to pronounce his name. But he's a proper keeper as well. He's a really, really good keeper, and they bought him for, like, I think it was like 14 million or something, like, which, you know, is not a lot of money for a top keeper. He did great in the last Euros, not the World Cup, sorry, in the Euros. And then he looks like he's doing well for Valencia as well this year. And I almost feel bad for Kelleher, because the lad's superb. I mean, if he was our number 1 today and, you know, Alisson wasn't playing for us anymore, I'd be happy with it. Yeah. But I suppose they see more in this other fella. Otherwise, why would they sign him, you know?
Exactly that. And I suppose we haven't seen this other guy, so we can't think. But I think Liverpool, the big thing for Liverpool is obviously going to be injuries. If obviously, let's just say, Salah and Van Dijk went down, like City have lost Rodri, De Bruyne, etc. I probably think they won't sustain that level of. If they lose 2 or 3 of their big players, then I think we'll see them drop points. And I think maybe this year, maybe that is what we're going to get because of the games, the amount of games, and coming off the Euros and Copa America and things like that. Maybe we are going to see that this year, because right now, I don't think I've ever seen a Premier League so tight. So from Chelsea, who are in third, down to Tottenham, well, actually, down to ninth, which is Villa, there is 1 point separating the league, and it's 3 points down to Tottenham in 10th. So that is I know we're talking about the top of the league then is extra, right? But the race for Champions League, you're talking about there's 7 teams in it at the moment.
Yeah, that race for Europe in general is really tight. You could look at a team that's sitting comfortably in the bottom half, like Man United, for example. I wouldn't be surprised if they got Conference or even Europa League this year, because that distance is so tight between what is it? It's like 6th and 14th or 15th.
Yeah,
there's a couple of wins in it.
Third, Man United. So I want to talk to you, actually. I thought about this morning. I want to talk to you about perception. How perception plays such a role in football.
Perception.
So like fans' perception.
Yeah.
So let's just say, right, I'm going to ask you now. Aston Villa, how would you perceive their season so far?
Superb.
Superb, right?
Yeah.
I would say exactly the same, right? Aston Villa are 3 points in front of Manchester United. How would you perceive Manchester United's season this season?
Yeah, but you're talking about 2 different things. You're talking about Manchester United and
as
Aston
a big
Villa.
club, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, Aston Villa finished in the Champions League last year, right? So they're a big side. We are saying, wow, what an amazing job they're doing, everything like that. Tottenham, they're Man United. Let's just remember, Man United have just sacked their manager.
Yeah.
Tottenham are 1 point in front of Manchester United.
I know, but they're also not Manchester United.
No, but I'm just saying that, like, we're not hearing Ange out.
No,
at the moment.
Well, actually, I think there are a couple of psychopath Spurs fans that are saying silly things like that. But
then so I'm looking at Tottenham, right? Their last 4, I think, is win, lose, right? So they're most
yeah. So the
no
most inconsistent team. Yeah.
Can Ange play that? Is this gun-ho football that he's going for? Is it working? Has he got the players to do it? Or is it bad management, keep doing it, and it not giving results?
I think
fine line.
Yeah, it's a super fine line, of course. But what I look at Postecoglou as is a gambler. He's like, this is either going to pay off big, or I'm going to look like an idiot. But I'm happy to roll the dice.
Yeah,
that's how I look at him. And there's what at the start of the season, if you would have asked me the 3 teams who were challenging for 4th, it'd be Spurs would be one of them, Villa and Newcastle. They would be the 3 teams that, and then I would say obviously I would hope Liverpool would be in the top 3, but City, Arsenal, Liverpool somewhere in the top 3. Now we've got Forest.
Well, not only that, we've got Forest above, so it sits 10th Tottenham, 9th Villa, 8th Newcastle, right? Which they're all well in the thing.
They're in the mix.
Also, we haven't mentioned Chelsea.
I would never have thought Chelsea. I would never have thought Chelsea, but good. I mean, say good on them. I can't stand Chelsea, but good on them for being better than what they've been before.
Between them, the 3 we mentioned, Spurs, Villa, and Newcastle, we've got Fulham, Brighton, Forest, and Chelsea, and obviously Arsenal in there as well. Arsenal, Liverpool, City as well. But you've got others in there, and you look at it, Brighton. What a team this is!
I know. How old is he, the manager?
Favorite, 31.
Is he 31?
Yeah, hurts a lot. And this comes to me. I was sitting here thinking about this over the weekend. Obviously, Brighton this weekend beat City 2-1. Pep's 4th defeat in a row, first time in his career.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, Brighton, I watched the game, were fantastic. City first half were better.
Yeah.
Brighton second half were insane. How they put the pressure on them. They just did not let up. And I've got to say, they are one hell of a club. And my question is Brighton the best run club in the Premier League? Let's bear in mind, right, I want to just say this. None of their managers get sacked. They leave. Graham Potter left for Chelsea. They replaced him with De Zerbi. They got better. De Zerbi left. They've replaced him with Hertzler. They've got better. So they haven't sacked a manager in a long, long time.
I saw, because this new fella, he got appointed during the Euros, didn't he, or just before the Euros? And I actually thought to myself, this might be their first hiccup, because the lad he's 31 years old. I mean, he's fucking 10 years younger than me and you.
It'd be younger than players that are at the club.
He's younger than quite a few of them. Milner and Lallana are still there. No, Lallana's gone to Southampton. Sorry.
Yeah.
But and I thought, this might be their first little hiccup here. I saw him talk on TalkSport, and he obviously spoke really well. But I was like, the Premier League or the Premiership.
Can eat you alive.
Well, I mean, look at Ten Hag. And Ten Hag was much more experienced, much older, obviously. Anyway, to answer your question, yeah, I think so. I think they are the best run team. Maybe in Europe, not even in the league.
I agree with that, because obviously when I say the best run club, they have a style of play. And they only buy players for that style of play. But not only that, they only recruit a manager, almost a bit like the Johan Cruyff method of Barcelona, where it's always this.
Yeah.
And they don't go away from it. They clearly have key targets in mind at all times of, if our manager leaves, let's just say Manchester City take our manager tomorrow, or anyone, Real Madrid, etc., we know who we're going for. And they seem to be very quiet about their business. Let's remember, they sell all their best players. Like
they do.
They have to constantly rebuild their team.
Do you know the player that they've sold that made the least sense was McAllister to Liverpool, because it was only 35 million, and that's an $80 million pound. Nearly said $80 million, £80 million player. But they sold Caicedo for what, 105,
over
something
100,
like that. Yeah. And he's begun to kick on, so maybe that'll be good value for Chelsea in the end. But it's Tony Bloom, isn't it? The owner.
Tony Bloom. No, I think Tony Bloom is Brentford.
No, I don't think
Brentford.
So. Are you sure?
So the story is...
who's the owner of Brentford then?
Wait, no, I'm sure Tony Bloom is the... I'm just checking it now because I want to... No, sorry, you are right. Chairman of Premier League club Brighton Hove Albion. The reason I say that, I think Brentford owner and Tony Bloom of Brighton were really good friends. And they had a falling out, and they no speak.
I didn't know that.
They both have got a similar... So I think Tony Bloom and the Brentford, I think they both do it on Moneyball.
Well,
so
they
use that Moneyball tactic.
Statistics... It's massively leveraged on statistics, isn't it? And Brentford just don't seem to get it. Sorry, now I'm confused. Brighton don't seem to get it wrong. They don't seem to. Or Brentford, actually, yeah.
Another brilliant,
to
explain to explain to people Brighton and Brentford, right? If you're a newer fan of the Premier League or overseas, etc. Brighton and Brentford are tiny, tiny clubs. Yeah. They for our lives, they were mainly Championship, League
Not
One,
even that,
etc. They were never big clubs. They've come to the Premiership, not only have they managed to stay in the Premier League, they've actually kicked on and actually, I would say, are above other established Premier League teams in where they are at, and they always have an upward trajectory. Now, they do not have the money like some of the bigger clubs. Even teams like West Ham, for example. So that's where they're ranked with money-wise. So they have to find different ways to overcome the big boys. And they use things like getting in players, selling them on to sustain their club. They have to be a buy and sell club because they haven't got the money to compete in the Premier League. Many people have tried it and many people have failed. Look at West Ham this year. They've spent 150 million.
Yep. Remember Southampton tried it as well with, what was the Nicola... Oh, my God. What was the last name? Nicola Sutton. But they had a really good few seasons when they bought Van Dijk and Lallana and when Mane and Font, exactly, yeah. And Liverpool just basically ransacked them. But they were having a really good few years and then they just dropped off. But Brighton and Brentford have both seemed to sustain it. And
it's incredible. And I would say their fans are also realists. And I wanted to come to that. Like, do you think, clubs, I think Everton, West Ham, Spurs, Newcastle, I'll say. I think we're all very similar clubs. We're very well supported.
Yeah.
We've never won anything, really. I know Everton have won stuff in the past. In recent years,
not
Premier League years.
Not for 40, 50 years.
Exactly. Yeah. We've never really won it. Newcastle, I don't think I've ever won anything in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Do our fans and our own egos kill our own clubs? Because teams like Brentford and Brighton, for example, seem to be happy. You never hear them booing the team when they lose. But in these other clubs, you do. And are we never happy where we are? Like our clubs, the Everton, West Ham. And we bow to probably fan pressure in certain stages. And we go for bigger name managers to get names in to appease the fan bases, I think.
So what are you saying that are the fans' egos hurting the club, or the fans' egos?
I think we're
putting
hurting
a high expectation.
I think it's we've got or delusions of grandeur that we think we're bigger clubs than we are.
But that's okay, though. I think, don't you?
It is, but then wonder why. Them four clubs mentioned, Newcastle, West Ham, Everton, Spurs, have never looked at clubs like Brighton and said, why are we not doing this?
You mean the owners of those clubs?
Yeah, like the owners, and saying like, right, okay. Because I think if West Ham and Tottenham, etc., were seen to be getting in players to sell them, to come in, our fans, I think, would go ballistic because I don't think they'd get on board with the project.
Yeah.
But over the time, we've seen it works with Brighton. And then adding in a bit of money with quality and things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe they should be looking at these methods.
I think they definitely should be. But you know what, mate? You say about West Ham's, Spurs, Newcastle, Everton, Liverpool's business model is not too dissimilar to Brighton's. No. You know, and if it works, it pays off huge. If it doesn't work, everybody looks like an idiot. You know.
Well, you've got to go and get the best in the back house, the people you don't see, the recruitment teams. Your recruitment team has got to be unbelievable.
It has.
For that to happen.
Yeah.
For it to
be
it's
all recruitment. But that's not the new
style
though.
Of player, the attitude of player. You don't see Brighton fans going mad. If they sign someone for 10 million and we haven't got a big name player, etc. We're bringing James Milner. He'll be able to slot in here. We think he can do this. I think our clubs, West Ham, etc., would go mad because I think we go for names, and listen, West Ham spent a lot of money.
I know,
You've got to look. Lucas
especially last
Paqueta,
summer.
we spent 50 million on him. Spurs have spent 65 million
How long
on
has
Solanke.
Paqueta been there for now?
It'll be his third season.
His third season now?
Yeah, I think it's his third season.
I mean, there's other stuff going on with Paqueta, isn't there? That might affect his ability to do things for you guys. And yeah. But what West Ham have done, I mean, they seem to. Who's the German fella you've got in this football director or sporting director, whatever he's called?
Tim Steidten, who's become the most famous football director at the moment.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be doing a good job for you lot.
No, I've got to say, I'd like to see, look, if he was involved in getting Lopetegui in, and then they've backed him, and these are all Lopetegui
I mean, he must have
signings.
been involved. How could he have that title and not be involved?
Well, you would think. And no, but I'm saying if it was his first choice, or if it wasn't, maybe the owner liked Lopetegui a bit more than Steidten. I'd like to know the actual things, because if Steidten has said, Lopetegui's our man, these are all the players we've identified for him, and we're in complete agreement, then he should be sacked along with Lopetegui. Because I have never seen a West Ham. So Everton-West Ham played this week. It was 0-0. I have never seen...
Mate.
It was up there with the worst game I have ever watched. And I'm looking at it on an Everton side as well. Everton.
They're poor as well.
Oh, man. They're as bad as West Ham.
Yeah.
But Everton have been like this now for 6 years.
Mate, Everton have been like this since as long as I can remember as a 41-year-old man.
Since David Moyes was at Everton.
Since, do you know what? They used to call them the Dogs of War with Joe Royle in the 90s. Before Moyes, they've never...
Moyes got them up, didn't he? Finished them fourth.
He did, yeah. Moyes finished fourth that year, 2005, when we won the European Cup. Well, no, they did get in. They just had to play a qualifier, and Pierre, what's his name, Kalina, the ref, very, very questionable decisions in that game from him. But anyway, Everton have never been. Everton have the best I can remember Everton ever being, and I'll be honest with you, I think the same about West Ham. Is aggressive to the point where they'll just bulldoze you over because they've got some animals in their team who are not even specifically good football players. They're just crazy aggressive, and some players, they might be the best technical football player in the world, but if you can't deal with the physical aggression of the opposition, then the mind goes, you know.
I want to come back to this, Tone, but I want to just have a quick break. I've got to go to the toilet. Welcome back to Football or Soccer. I just had a pee. Thank you very much. Before we left, we were discussing, obviously, where Everton were, and something I wanted to touch on, talking about the big-name managers. Rafa Benitez, Carlo Ancelotti. Then they went Lampard, another name that they went
big
for.
Time, yeah.
Then all of a sudden, now they went, right, we're in the shit all of a sudden. Let's go and get a manager. They've had Sam Allardyce in there. They've now said, right, let's go and get Sean Dyche. He'd keep us in the league. That's kind of their mindset at the minute.
It is,
but
yeah.
I've got to say, I don't know. Like, for people not understanding, these are big, big, big club. And their fans have been patient. They turn up every week. They travel away. They go home. Everton, I think, watching them has been like watching paint dry for years.
For a long time. For a long,
There's not been
time.
any excitement there at all, was there?
No, and for Everton, I mean, obviously, you know what it's like growing up in Liverpool. It's like growing up in East London. What your best mate might support someone else, you know?
Yeah.
The multiple club cities, multiple club areas. And one of my oldest friend in the world is been an Everton season ticket holder since he was about 6, and I obviously I love taking the Michael out of them when they're terrible, which is more often than not.
Yeah.
But I also think it's sort of sad with Everton. You know, like for example,
just to quickly before you say that, Everton have never been relegated from the Premier League.
They've never been. I think they're one of the only teams that have never been relegated. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're one of the original Premier League members.
They're one of the founding clubs of the Football League, Everton.
Yeah. So this is a huge
historic
team.
Yeah.
But I think the most remarkable thing about Everton in the last 5 years is that they haven't been relegated because they're that bad.
I know. They've been terrible. And like and they've been so close. And I've always been like thinking to myself, if they get relegated, it will be hilarious for about 5 minutes. And then I'd be like, actually, that's sort of sad. And also, by the way, not just for Everton, because for the city of Liverpool, because they have two clubs, and it obviously brings a lot of financial gains to the city and all that kind of stuff. But I always think, it'd be funny if they got relegated. But then I think, but then I'd be sort of sad about it because they're too big, they're too historic. They should never be in that situation.
And the way they're run, maybe they wouldn't come back up because they are. I've got to say, they're a shell of their former self, of what they used to stand for.
They are now,
any of us could tell you what Everton are anymore.
No. They've just been bought, though, haven't they? By
they have.
Friedkin Group, is it? Well,
again.
Yeah, but this fella, he tried to buy them, I think, about 6 months ago, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it didn't go through. And then he's now got the bid accepted, etc. He owns Roma. He's an American fella, actually. He owns a lot of Chevrolet dealerships all across America. So he's not short of money. But the other thing is, and I know this is a slightly different subject, but I don't even know whether it matters how rich the owners are anymore because of FFP. It's what you generate. It's not what your owner's got in the bank. So I don't know. Roma are also not doing too well either, which is the other club he owns.
No.
But anyway, Everton.
Yeah, it's a sad stage, and I think West Ham. We've obviously had it good for the last few years.
Yeah.
It is now dreadful. The fans are booing. It's clearly not working out with this manager.
No.
He should have been let go as of Saturday night. After that performance, it was dismal, and then at least you've brought a new manager in the international break to go for it. Now, what we're hearing out of the club is apparently there's a meeting with Steid and Sullivan today, but what we're hearing is, well, we're going to give him probably another 4 because we've got Newcastle and Arsenal next.
Yeah,
and we don't expect. And no, this is what we're hearing is we don't expect to get anything from them anyway. So. Then it's down to Leicester. So if you can get, but if you're talking about someone of, well, we're going to lose a couple more games, then we might get something against Leicester. Then we'll keep him for another week. If you're at that stage with someone, it is done.
It's time.
Get rid of it.
It's time. I agree with that. They've just put a lot of money into the project, haven't they? Like after they got rid of Moyes. It's clear that they obviously thought it through because didn't they? Did you see Moyes on the overlap?
Yeah, I thought he was really good.
Yeah, good interview. Yeah. But he said they offered me a contract and then took it away again.
Well, so I've heard a bit of different story on that as well. So I've heard, and he did touch on it. He didn't think the contract was quite good enough. He thought he should have a better contract.
In terms of what? He wasn't being paid enough money or something?
Financially or whatever it is, or the length of it, I don't know that. So he did say, I didn't think the contract was good enough, right? So they offered him a contract.
So he didn't accept it then?
He didn't accept it. Then apparently we lost a few on the spin, and then he said, I'll sign that. And they went, no, don't worry. You said you wanted to wait to the end of the season. Let's wait to the end of the season.
So it's a bit of both.
Yeah, and look, I think we weren't doing well. The fans were on his back. I think the club actually thought, you know what, you've given us an out here to not, and let's see the end of the season.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it mutually worked out. I think, as I say, now people are saying, well, you should go and get Moyes back. I don't think that's the case.
No way. No way. That would be...
To be honest with you, if I was Everton today,
I would take Moyes.
Moyes.
For sure.
I would 100% go and get David Moyes.
But I would have taken him at the end of last season, though.
Yeah.
Not today.
And I think he will bring back stability, because one thing about David Moyes, I've got to say, I love David Moyes and what he done for West Ham. I was a big Moyes fan. I'm a realistic fan of West Ham that realises we can't compete with Liverpool. So you've got to do something different. I didn't hate the football. Yeah, look, some of the roles weren't there, but I actually think if the fans were with him, it would have been better. But unfortunately, they weren't, and it got toxic, and he had to go.
Yeah.
But I do think Moyes brings that stability to a club, and where we haven't got him now, we're now in this no man's land of no one knows what way we play, and we look identical. I think us and Everton are the two worst teams. I know we're not at the bottom, but what I will say is Southampton
look pretty poor. They do.
But they've got a clear identity of what they're trying to do. Whether I think that's right or not is a different thing.
So did Burnley.
Yeah. But you've got to remember, they haven't got the players of West Ham. Like, let's look at West Ham.
True.
We're talking about, we've got two probably £80 million players in Kudos and Bowen in our team. Like, these would get in most Premiership sides.
Bowen for sure. Yeah. I would even say Paqueta, though. Paqueta would get in most
Paqueta on
teams.
his day, yes.
Yeah.
So we've got like a forward line there. Somerville as well, they're in there. Max Kilman that came in. You got Wan-Bissaka, who was at Manchester United. You got a few good things in there, right? So that would get in other teams. And we got zero in identity, same as Everton. And I look at us, and we're lucky to scrape through games, and that's what Everton are. That's what we are.
I think Everton have an identity. I just think it's not good. Like Everton. I mean, listen, we all know what a Sean Dyche team is. The same we know what a David Moyes team is. You know, we're not looking at a Pep team. We're not looking at Barcelona 2006. You know, we're looking at. It is what it is, and to a certain extent, you've got to not for West Ham, by the way, because I think West Ham are a little bit different, because West Ham should have kicked on after Moyes. They really should have. They had an opportunity to.
Well, it Everton, just shows with the wrong people behind and the wrong structure and the wrong decisions.
Which is why we keep talking about these sporting directors and directors of football and stuff like that, which is what we spoke about last week. I would never have even known who a director of football was at a football club who wasn't Liverpool. Never. I wouldn't have cared. But now they're important, you know?
Well, there is links this week of Tim Steidham from West Ham being lined up for the Arsenal job.
After Edu? Well, you know, I heard about him being spoken about Liverpool in the summer.
And apparently
maybe he's not as terrible as we think.
No, but that's what I mean. I'd like to know. It's hard to see with such a terrible manager in place whether his signings are that bad or it's the manager playing them that bad.
So who they signed in the summer, West Ham?
So we signed Somerville from Leeds.
Yeah.
Championship player.
Good player.
Right?
Yeah.
I think
he's a proper player, him.
We signed him. We signed Todibo, the centre-half from, I think he came from Nice. They were saying Juventus were looking for him. So far, jury's really out on him. He's cost a lot of goals this year. But he's hooked one week, back in the next, hooked again. So then we signed Max Kilman from Todibo's on a loan to, we have to buy him at the end of the season. I think goes up, I think it's 35 million. Then Max Kilman from Wolves
He's
40
another decent
million.
player, though.
Yeah, big money though, 40 million for a guy who's never represented England. Like he's like first say he's not
How old is he?
Top centre half. 26, 27, I think.
Oh, okay, so he's not a kid.
No, but like so it's big money. But it's not we're not saying that the club hasn't spent it. Then there's this really weird one of this young kid called Luis Guilherme, who we've signed for 25 million rising to 35 million, who no one's ever heard of. He came from Brazil.
And his name's Lewis.
Yeah, and he was in the same team as Endrick and someone else who went off to Real Madrid and elsewhere, and he was like the third forward. Now he played 45 games and scored 1 goal and I think 1 assist.
And how much did they buy him for?
25 million rising to 35. Now I think the club's had a gamble on him, thinking, "Oh, he could be the next one. He could be 100 million."
One. Yeah.
Well, this kid. From what I've seen of him, there is nothing about.
Well, there's a reason why most South American players go to Spain. The Premier League's a different world.
Well, it is, but then you look and go, right, we wasted 25 mil there. Maybe, let's see. He's never really even kicked a ball. He's in the under 18s. Nicholas Füllkrug, 32 million for a 32-year-old striker from Dortmund. Hasn't kicked a ball for West Ham, been injured since he got there. I think he's played 6 minutes, something like that. 32-year-old, no resale value. So these are team started and signings. Then we had Guido Rodriguez, who was a free transfer, who's played every game for West Ham in midfield. Argentinian World Cup winner, looks so off the pace. It is unreal.
Yeah.
Then Carlos Soler is another one from free. He's on a season-long loan from PSG. Another one looks like them two could have easily been replaced by kids.
You're almost making me grateful. You're almost making me grateful that Liverpool didn't really sign anyone.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So, and then Wan-Bissaka, 15 million, I think has been a success so far. But you're looking at this Tim Steidten. Is this man as good as everyone thinks, or has he kind of pulled the wool over the eyes and the perception of him that he's amazing?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like he is.
Because he brought Kudos in. Okay, Kudos has been a hit. Alvarez was big money, 40 million the year before. Been awful since then. So there's been quite a few. Nay Fagerd, we signed him for 30 million. We just let him go for peanuts.
And so he signed them? This same fella signed them?
Kehrer, another one. We bought him for 9 mil, and then we shipped him out on loan last year, and he went in the summer. So a lot of them have come and gone. So there's a lot of now. Kehrer, I read that he's actually performing as the best rated centre back in Europe at the moment, in the whole of Europe, with his stats on a stats wise. He's played for Monaco.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Maybe these players were great or very good, but in the wrong system. So you're buying players to play out from the back, but you're buying them for Moyes.
Do you think then that the one wrong decision was the manager, and the players may actually be really good, but the manager was they dropped the ball on the manager?
I do agree, because I don't believe that, because even Bowen and Kudos,
who would you choose? Who would you change it with, though? Because we've had this conversation before. A lot of top, huge clubs are struggling to get a good manager in. That's why Ancelotti's still at Madrid. Ancelotti's having a nightmare this season.
Yeah.
You know, do you know what I think? I think some of these clubs, Manchester United especially, really missed out. And who knows, this Portuguese fella, Amorim, might turn out to be better than them all. But I think they really missed out by both letting Pochettino go to the US and also Tuchel go to England.
Yeah.
I thought
two top coaches.
Amazing coaches. Now, after being a manager at Spurs and Chelsea, it would have been very difficult, wouldn't it, for Pochettino to go to West Ham? They would have hated him from day one.
No, not at all. West Ham
You
would
don't
have
think
loved him.
so?
No, we'd have
Even
loved him.
after being the Spurs manager?
Yeah, it doesn't. That I think that sort of stuff's over really at the end because he done well at Spurs.
I think he's
a
a
lot of
brilliant
Spurs
manager.
fans wanted him back.
Yeah, I think he's a brilliant manager. I don't think Chelsea should have sacked him, but then you look at their last 5 games and you're like, maybe they saw something that we didn't. But yeah, I don't know, mate. I don't know with the whole West Ham thing. I don't know what you're gonna do because they've invested a lot in that manager.
Yeah, I do think if we get the right manager in, I do think right now, let's say we done it today, I do think we could be pushing on still in that hunt for Europe because we're not that many points away from it.
No,
as I say, because it's close. But leave it another 4 games, and then it's a different feeling there. The players, the confidence gets lower and lower and lower. Same as Everton, same as these other teams. It starts to break away.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it has to be now. It has to be decisive. And there has to be a real thought process because you've got to also look at the players we have, right? And then the budget. Now, apparently, we have spent, we've really gone at it. There is no more money. So we've got to sell now to bring in. And apparently, the make weight is going to be Kudos this year. So he's going to be an 80 million to someone that's kind of the rumor that'll balance the books. He's only young, Kudos. I think he's 25, 24. I'd have to have a look at that. But so apparently he's wanted by a few teams, maybe Arsenal, City. There's a few teams. That
I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool started looking at a player like him.
Me either. He's a really good player, and in a good side, he will be a good player. I would say that. So then, when you look at a manager, you've got to look and go, right, well, what manager's going to fit these players? Because it's all right putting in, let's say, Ruben Amorim. Yeah. But if he wants to play free at the back and he wants to play out from the back and he wants to do this, and you haven't got the players.
No. But United also don't have the players for that. United don't have it either.
But United, one thing will be, they will be able to go up. They'll cut some of this squad.
I don't know, mate.
For losses.
They have dropped a load on players over the last 2 years. I mean, what did they do? They did 100 plus, I think it was 120 something in the summer on players. And, United are probably the richest club, well, one of the richest clubs in the world for sure. But I think they were pretty close with that FFP stuff. I don't think they can, because, they've wasted.
But they'll sell, I think they'll sell a few of them. And look, they're not going to get big money in.
Who is it, right, in United, that United team right now? Who is it who could be sold for more than 40 million?
Rashford, you'd go and get money for. Because he's English, because he's done it before.
Who's buying him for?
I think you're going to see someone like Spurs, West Ham, Villa, maybe.
He's on 350 grand a week. They're not paying that money.
They're not.
It's not even just the transfer fee.
I think Barca would probably take a punt on him.
I mean,
I think they would. I think on his name, I think they would.
If he had 2 good seasons, no, exactly. You wouldn't want West Ham to buy him, would you?
No, I think he'd do well at somewhere like West Ham.
But
I think
they're not gonna...
he'd go there and he'd be the main man. You got to remember they walk into Tottenham and you'd be the main dog.
But it's
there.
I mean, for a start, Tottenham and West Ham are not paying those wages. But that being a wages aside, a player like that, I don't think he's got it in him to be the main man. I really don't.
I don't as well.
Like, whenever he's been the main man at United, he's shrunk. That's why they had to give Fernandes the captaincy. And Fernandes is not a captain.
No.
I've
never rated that Rashford. I've never got into the myth. I know he's had them seasons.
He had a couple of really good seasons where
I think he's a good player. I've never thought he's great.
No, I've never thought he was great. No. But I've thought he was. There were times when I was like, they've got a good one here. They've got in the same way that I think that about Garnacho now. I think he's really good. I think he's probably one of the only ones that they could sell north of 40, maybe 50 million.
Garnacho would go for big money. He would.
I think probably. But Fernandez is how old is he? He's late 20s now.
Yeah, I think they'd still get a big transfer fee. Like I think they'd.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if a manager just really wanted them, but I don't know. I
would
look
they want them? That's the actual thing. Anthony, like, you're gonna have to give
Anthony.
this guy away.
Anthony is. He'd have to go back to Ajax because that's the only time he's had a.
Want him, yeah.
If they'd want him, but they'd probably take him back, wouldn't they, for a massively reduced fee?
He'd probably go out on loan or something like that, and then end up going for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. In the same way that, oh my God, Sancho.
Yeah,
Jadon Sancho, Chelsea,
and and again though, Sancho's not been doing it at Chelsea. Hasn't been amazing. Like he went out to Dortmund last year.
He had a good start with them, didn't he? He had a good start.
He's done okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't think he's set the world on fire. I don't think he'd be playing any different than Sterling would have if it was him in that position as well.
I agree with that.
Again, he hasn't done anything. Just want to touch on quickly. So obviously, Amorim starts actually today. It's his first day. He's just got into Manchester United. One of the things that's come up is obviously Ruud van Nistelrooy has been caretaker manager. 5 games undefeated. I think 4 wins and a draw. I think was his thing. Steadied the ship really well. I think after what was going on, and look, he's had 2 of those games have been against Leicester. So he's maybe been a little bit lucky that Ten Hag may have got them. He's made it quite clear that he wants to stay at Manchester United.
Yeah.
Like he's very open. Do you, and I suppose him and Amorim are going to have chats today. Do you think it will, or do you think he'll be let go?
I have no idea whether he will or won't, but if I was Amorim, I would not want him there. I wouldn't want him there because...
And not because of, not because of, I know what you're going to say, because it's not because of he's a bad guy or he's a...
No.
Or he's a bad coach.
No, but it's a shadow hanging over your head. You know, he might as well be Alex Ferguson. In United fans' eyes.
He is a number 1 manager.
He's
made it clear that he wants a management job. Again.
Exactly. And he said this, I think, in an interview over the weekend, didn't he? One of the post-match interviews. No, I mean, and also, what has he actually added to United since he's been the assistant manager? They've still been poor. You know, they've still been poor, but he might. I don't know whether he will be kept on or not, but if I was Amorim, I'd be like, listen, boys, we need a clean sweep here. Pay him up, let him go be a manager somewhere else, because the last thing I want is losing 4 games on the trot and the Stretford end shouting for him to be manager. I just don't need it. I don't need it. And if that's what you want, then this is never going to work. You know?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's probably time. I think he's got to go in. I think it's a bit ruthless. He's got to go in there and say, I'm really sorry. Look, Ruud. And maybe just say, look, I'm really sorry, but if this goes bad, they're going to be calling for you.
Exactly.
And I just can't do it.
And but Van Nistelrooy will know that.
He'll know that.
He'll know that. Yeah,
I think he's done a good job. I think can hold his head high up in Manchester, and I actually think he's going to go and get a job off it.
Oh, I think he will.
Actually, someone West Ham could be looking at. You know,
well, yeah. There you go. Well, yeah. I hope not for your.
It's a name. That's what I mean.
Yeah, but he won. Arrivederci is however you
never know you
pronounce it. Yeah, whatever it is. He won that twice, I think, with PSV, didn't he? He did well as a manager. He's not an idiot. Although obviously he's got experience and he's won things, but you just don't want it. You know, it's like when Liverpool brought Gerard Houllier in and they had Roy Evans as the joint manager. It's like, it was like, this is weird. And I'm not saying, I know it's not a joint manager thing, but when you have somebody there who, you know, the crowd is going to call for. Actually, you know what a good example is? When Liverpool brought Roy Hodgson in and they had Kenny Dalglish. He wasn't a coach, but he was there in the club. And as soon as things started to go wrong, it was like Get Kenny in it.
It's
like
hanging
it's
over,
like
yeah.
bring Solskjaer in. They all even fucking brought Ryan Giggs in, didn't they, for a few games? For me, if I was Amarin, I would be like, listen, I respect your history, but this is not 1999. Let's move forward.
I think on that we're going to have a quick break, and then we're going to come back. We'll carry on, continue about what Man United need to do, and also I want to discuss the MLS at the weekend. See you in a minute. Welcome back to Football or Soccer, where we are discussing Manchester United, the new boss Ruben Amorim, and obviously the situation with Ruud van Nistelrooy. We both think that he will be dismissed after their meeting probably today. Be quite surprising if he does. What do you think Amorim needs to do from today at United?
I think I don't know what he needs to do today. I think he's going to need a good 2 years to even be in a conversation for a title. Because
forget that. I'm saying, forget titles at the minute, man. I mean, what does he need to do? He starts today. Where would you start?
Fuck me.
I don't envy him of that job. I've got to be honest, because I was thinking of that this morning. Like, you're a new manager. You come over from Portugal. Don't know if you speak that well of English, etc.
No, he's good. He's got good English. And do you know what I do like about him? And I'm hesitant to say this about a Man United manager. He's a charismatic lad. He is. He's charismatic. I think
got a bit of character.
I think he's going to be head and shoulders above Ten Hag. I really do. I just think part of Ten Hag's weakness was the fact that he was about as interesting as a fucking piece of paper. Like he just didn't have anything in him whether it was his, but he spoke good English as well, I think, Ten Hag. But
very good, yeah.
Yeah, but he just, I don't know. Ten Hag to me just seemed so boring. I never wanted to watch any of his interviews ever.
Me too. Which is unlike Pep. You want to watch Pep.
I want to watch Pep.
Arteta's a bit the same.
Yeah. Exactly. All of that. Even, do you know what? When Liverpool employed Slot, I was like, because listen, I know a few Dutch people, and I'm sure they'll disagree with me when I say this. They're not the most charismatic of people.
No.
And I'm sorry if that's offensive to anybody. Maybe it's when they speak English, they come across that way. And listen, your English is better than my Dutch, I'm sure, but there seems to be a communication issue with Dutch people. But Slot seems to have slotted in very well. But this fella, I think he's got a touch of Mourinho about him. And I know they're both Portuguese, and that's an obvious comparison to make. But I think he's got a bit of fun about him, where I'll actually want to watch the interviews.
Yeah, I think to be a Manchester United manager, look, let's remark like here, Sporting Lisbon is a different animal to Manchester United.
Yeah.
You have got to be able to assume control of that club from minute one.
Yeah.
Like, you have got to be able to make this your club. And I think he's got to go in. I think he's got to set the standards. I've got to think he sees who wants it, who don't.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to get that little honeymoon period where all the players are on board and things like that. And then the ones who you dropped, who maybe used to start, are then going to be bitching behind your back. I think, and we had that with Ten Hag, if you remember. When Ten Hag came in, made the big decision with Ronaldo.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
That was a huge decision. Yep. Whether it was wrong or right.
And Maguire.
He set the marker when, you know what? Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm the man here.
Yeah.
Now, Sancho.
Mm-hmm.
He made some big decisions.
He did.
They're okay.
He took the captaincy off Maguire, don't forget.
Yeah. I think they're okay if you're getting it right then. See, there's a fine line of coming in, smashing into everyone and saying, you know what, I'm the boss now, get in line.
Yeah.
but if you don't get them on board as well, ultimately they will hang you.
I think with this manager, right, I think he's in a great situation because of the people who've gone before him. Because the people who've gone before him, for one, they didn't seem to have any safety net behind them, right? They had the Glazers who were in Florida, didn't really care as long as the numbers look good at the end of every quarter. This Jim Ratcliffe fella, I think he's going to be better. I think he's going to be better, where I think he's going to say, so when, for example, and this is always my reference, when Klopp went into Liverpool, it wasn't a great start by any means. I think the first season we finished 5th or 6th. Second season we got into the Champions League, I think, but my memory of this is not that great. We nearly won a couple of trophies, but it was a minute before Klopp was actually successful. But what Klopp did have was a group of people behind them who own the club, who manage the club, who are saying, no, I don't care. Get rid of whoever you want. You're our man.
Yeah.
Because they got rid of Benteke. Remember Benteke? We bought him, I think, from Villa. 30-something million. Didn't work. And he was just like, listen, he's not for me. What do you want? Do you want him to stay or do you want me to go? And I think that's what Amarin's going to have to do with United, because there are so many players who should not be playing for Man United who play for them.
No, and look, they might bring in some different players, but I think it's a wait and see with Amarin. I think there's something I like about him. As I say, he's got a bit of Mourinho about him.
Yeah.
Obviously, look, he's just come in after battering City 4-1. He could not have had a better entrance to the Premier League.
I don't know.
Like we just beat City 4-1.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's good or bad. I don't know whether that's good or bad.
The expectations probably gone up a bit.
Yeah. It's like if he would have been beaten 4-1 by City, obviously people would be like, Pep's close to them already.
Yeah.
But it would have come in, he would have still obviously been the manager, but he would have come in and it would have been easier for him to get people on side. Now I think people are already on side. I don't know. I don't know whether that's good or bad.
Some of the players coming in, psychologically, that's a big thing. You've done Pep 4-1, like in a Champions League game.
Yeah.
You're walking in. I think some of the players who maybe don't know him, for example, or like us, we don't follow the Portuguese league.
Yeah.
All of a sudden go, but this guy's got something.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. I fancy him. Yeah. The players will be thinking, I fancy this fella. He obviously knows what he's doing. And
like any new boss, they're all going to be measuring him up when he walks in the door.
Yeah, of course.
What's he wearing? How's he hold himself? Can he, like all them sort of things that people are looking at. Does he look like the boss, or is he
does he look the
trying
part?
to be
Does he
mates with
act
everyone?
the part? Yeah.
So I think wait and see with Manchester United.
I'd be surprised, honestly, if we're talking at the end of the season, which is 5 months away. I'd be surprised if we're looking at a different Man United manager than what they have than him.
Me too.
I think he'll do well, and I hope he doesn't. But I think he will.
Maybe comes in, wins an FA Cup, something like that.
You're talking about Ten Hag then, aren't you? Because he won 2 of them. But but
I mean to get you off on the go. Here we go. But I'm just taking you on a little run.
I think what United fans would rather see is the
progression.
Progression in the Premier League, though, because listen, we grew up with the FA Cup, and everybody of a certain age values the FA Cup massively. But if you've got a new manager because your team's in a bad spot, winning the FA Cup's great. But if you're in the bottom half of the Premier League, you know
without a doubt,
you know this is not a good sign. Whereas
I think Manchester United fans, if you looked at them, and even me as not as Man United fan, but I like Man United because obviously we grew up watching them, and they were the team of our era. But I think if someone could come in, have a clear identity of what they're trying to do, bring back a bit of the passion and the stature of Manchester United, like I think, which is very hard, but like people understanding it's a privilege to play for Manchester United again. Like that, I think if someone can bring that back in, I think people go, you know what? I can see we're getting on the right track here. Players are running. Players are giving their all. We might be losing games because we haven't got the right players, but I can see exactly what we're trying to do, and it's quite exciting. Because I think Man United, they don't want to be playing holding back David Moyes football, for example, Lopetegui football, and scratching
they
out
just want to. They won't accept it. It won't be accepted.
No. It's got to be exciting.
It's not even an option. I used to play for, when I first moved to LA, I used to play for a football team that was managed by Vinnie Jones. Yeah. And we were called Hollywood All-Stars. That's Manchester United. Manchester United are the superstars of British football. You know,
arguably, Manchester United is probably a bit more than Hollywood All-Stars.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We had a couple of good forwards. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
can't believe he just compared his football team to Manchester United.
But they're Hollywood, is what I'm saying. Manchester United, they're the superstars. Not the team, not the player, right. but the team, the aura around it was like, I mean, they're the superstars of European football. Them and Real Madrid, as much as it pains me to say, because obviously I can't stand them, but they're Hollywood. Yeah. That's what they are.
Right, I want to move on from the Premier League. Because there was a hell of a game at the weekend, and it was in the MLS, and it was with friend of the pod, Derek Williams, again. They were playing their game 3 of the playoff series, Atlanta United versus Inter Miami, in Miami, who the league, everyone wants Miami to win because it's obviously the global scale, and a huge upset. Atlanta beat them 3-2. And I've got to say, I watched the game. I was sitting in Nobu in Indian Wells down in the desert, and I had it on a phone. Me and my son James were sitting there glued to it. It was like an old school game. Crosses flying into the boxes. Honestly, they were just throwing a kitchen sink at them. And then
Derek
Atlanta
kept
were
them
leading
out.
2-1. Kept him out. Derek again. Messi equalised to make it 2-2, and there was a good bit of shithousery actually. Suarez then got Brad Guzman, the goalie, and threw him into the net. He was all over the. If you get a chance to look at a video,
that's
see
not
Messi's
like
second
Suarez.
Goal.
That's not like
so
him.
funny. He gives him a good fuck you into the net, and then you look like, right, Inter Miami are going to go on, and you were thinking, right, there's going to be a penalty given to Inter Miami, something like that. But they went down the other end, big chip up to the back post, and a bullet header at the back post to seal it. And also, Messi's goal was a header as well. Cross up, Messi, smallest man on the pitch, jumped as high as anyone. Great header.
Got a leap on him, that lad.
It was brilliant. But it was so good to see. So they go through now to the next round against Orlando. And it's not 3 games. I'd see you try and work this one out.
It's 2, isn't it?
3 game. No, just 1, I think. Now it's a knockout.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think so. So it's not the 3-game series now. It goes to 1 game. So who knows how the MLS work it out? I think they make it up.
The MLS is bananas.
But the MLS will be fuming that Inter Miami will not be going to the final.
Well, they were, because of the FIFA Club World Cup, they were kind of banking on Inter Miami winning it because they've already given them a place in it.
Yeah.
Even though they're not champions.
Well, they won the league, but winning the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they went out in the first round, which is against, let's be honest, Atlanta finished 9th.
Yeah, but they're not a bad team though, mate. They're not.
Well, no, they're not a bad team against Inter Miami as well. So Inter Miami, they've played each other 5 times this year, and Miami have won once, I think.
Oh, really?
So I think they drew and beat them. But Atlanta have got the better. They're their bogey team. But I was so glad for Derek. He's gone through. I spoke to him after the game. He was overjoyed. He can't wait to get through to the next round. So because he's coming to LA, I think when they when they're out of the series. So our trip here has been prolonged because he's still in it, but I hope he stays in it. I'm going to take the boys. I think I was going to take them to the next round to go and watch it, but it's the same weekend as the F1, so I'm going to the F1.
Oh, in Vegas?
In Vegas, so I'm not going to be able to. I've got to hope he gets through, and then I will go to the next round, wherever it is.
We got faith in you, Derek. Next round.
And I saw that the two LA teams could meet. If they both win their next rounds, they meet in the next round as well, which would be great. Is that
right?
For LA.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it means there will be an LA team in the final.
Oh, that's good.
And I'd like to almost see LA Galaxy versus. I like LAFC, but Galaxy versus Atlanta because that's Derek's old club.
I've always liked the Galaxy. I've always liked them because
because you came here when the Galaxy were big, whereas
they were the only
LAFC
team in LA when I came.
Yeah,
LAFC didn't even exist when I came, and then I used to go and photograph their training sessions when Beckham was there and Roy Keane, and then
Robbie Keane, not Roy Keane.
Sorry, Robbie Keane, and then Ashley Cole came over. Obviously, Steven Gerrard came over, and then I got. Spoke to Steven Gerrard a few times, and then he got me passes to photograph the games. And so I always have an affinity for the Galaxy for that reason. They're almost like the underdog of LA now, aren't they? Because they're not as good as LAFC.
LAFC is the better team now, isn't it? And they're a better. I love LAFC going to their home games because it's a real atmosphere. It's one of the best small grounds I've ever been to.
It's not that small, though, is it?
I mean, in the Premiership. I'm putting it to the Premiership grounds, things like that.
Yeah,
so, no, it's not that. I think it's about 17, 18, 19,000, something like that.
For MLS. I mean,
which is big, yeah.
Well, the biggest stadiums in the MLS are in the north west, aren't they? Seattle Sounders.
I don't know.
I think they have 60,000.
Oh, wow.
Up there. Yeah.
I realise that.
Yeah.
Miami looked rocking the other night, so it must have been a terrible night because I'm sure all the stars were there to watch to see it Miami come out, and they're out. So it's a hell of a achievement for Atlanta to do that over 3 games as well with them players.
Yeah.
So it really great. It was good, but it reminded me of almost old football. I love watching it. It was crosses. It wasn't perfect, but it was great. It was the underdog winning. So they've kind of become my new team a little bit, Atlanta. So I'm kind of watching them at the minute and quite enjoying it and getting into the MLS, which is actually quite good. And my son actually really enjoyed it.
He enjoyed the game?
Yeah, he loved it. And do you know what? He doesn't watch the Premiership with me, really. He plays football, but he doesn't really watch it.
He's okay, by the way.
She watches it.
He was fizzing those passes into me the week before last.
Yeah.
He's not bad.
He's good. He plays for Juventus here. So they got battered 4-0 at the weekend, actually. But I've got to be honest with you, it was the best thing in the world because it was they were in a tournament in an hour and a half away from us. And the first game was at 9:30 and the second game was going to be at 3 o'clock, I think. So we'd have to wait around all day, and they got beat 4-0 in the first game. They just weren't at it. They were better. They were a better team than the other team, usually, but they were awful. The other team battered them. I think they had 1 shot on goal in the whole game, which is they usually score like 6. But I was the most happiest man in the world because if we'd have stayed till 4 o'clock, it would have then meant coming home in like the worst traffic ever. It would take me 3 hours to get back.
Yeah,
I was back in my house by 1 o'clock. I was sitting there, and what was great, he was going to have to miss the semi and final anyway because it was going to be on the following week or when we were in Vegas. Mm-hmm. So now we haven't got to miss the final. I'm like, oh great. I got in the car. I said, you know what? You actually played well today. I said, he went, you're not upset? And I said, no, I said, I'm actually really. so unfortunately, but they're a good little team. But it was nice to see him watching the MLS.
Yeah, nice.
And before we finish, I think we've got to touch on, obviously, the referee in England today. What was David Coote, isn't it?
Coote,
and he has been suspended now.
Yeah, I saw that,
PGMOL, I think it is.
He's going to get sacked. He's going to get sacked.
For a video that's leaked today on social media of him calling Jurgen Klopp a C and saying Liverpool.
Do you know what? I don't even think the worst part of it was calling him a C. I think it was calling him a German C, because you can listen. We all say silly things, right? But whoever the lad is who filmed it, who was obviously doing the selfie video,
has killed him because he's done it with a mate.
That's not a mate. A mate doesn't do that to you. A mate doesn't even film that.
It looks like he's had a few. And to be honest with you, it looks like it was probably taken in lockdown.
It was because they were talking about
4 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years, whatever. Ago. Yeah. But they were talking, and I agree, because they were talking about being 2 meters apart or whatever, right?
Yeah,
so, and the mask and all that.
It must be then,
all that fucking nonsense. But and listen, as I say, we've all done stupid things.
Stupid things.
And I also think the height of most people's stupidity was during lockdown, because it was a wild time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I think most Liverpool fans, and I actually think that they're well entitled to, will go in the direction.
Well, there's going to be hysteria now
in the
this,
hysteria,
because it's all over. It's outrageous.
Yeah.
Now, it could be that the man is actually very professional as a referee. He doesn't hate Liverpool. Like he might have clearly said something to him that's pissed him off. I don't think let's put this out there. All referees support teams.
Of course they do. Yeah.
Now, I don't think they're going out there going, I'm going to give a penalty against West Ham against Tottenham today.
No. That's
I
true.
think that's a bit.
But did you? But also, I saw things later on where he was on the because at the end of the video, his mate, or whoever the fucking idiot is, clearly not his mate, who's taking the video. Because listen, if my mate, if me and you were sitting in the same room and I was saying stupid things and you were filming it, I'd be like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
he's clearly not his mate, and vice versa. That's
exactly
not
that.
What you
I
do.
don't think it.
But whoever the lad is who's filming it, at the end of it, he says, and all Liverpool fans, I can't remember what exactly, and we all ate Scousers. And I was thinking to myself, not for the lad who was filming it, because the lad who's filming it is an idiot, but for the referee, I was like, you're a dope. Not only
he clearly is.
Not only are you being stupid, but you're a dope for letting somebody film you saying this stuff. And so
it's probably going to cost him his job.
It will, because there's no way in the world, Sam, that this lad can go and referee another Liverpool game. That's for sure. But he also can't go and referee another game that impacts Liverpool in any other way. He will lose his job. And when I saw it, because he looks really young, right? And I was like, maybe he's like in his early 30s or something, and this happened 3-4 years ago, whenever. I could almost give him a pass for just being a young idiot. He's older than us. He's 40. He's 42.
That's what I'd say. So I know something has come out today that he has said the video is not him. So
that's where
we got to say allegedly this video has surfaced
because they talk about the deep fake and all that kind of stuff, right? So
and maybe it has come out and it completely is. But let's see. We'll keep following it. I think we've got to wrap up here. Yeah. Thank you for listening to everyone. I think remember, follow us on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Give us a little rating, 5-star rating. Subscribe. Send us any questions as well. I know people have been sending us some questions to the Instagram account, which is Football or Soccer Pod. Send us your questions, any topics. We're going to try. We have been saying this, that we're going to put in another episode because, to be honest, it's a lot to cover. especially with Champions League. We didn't even touch on Champions League today.
No,
So
I know.
There's too much to cover. There's so much going on in football. It's every day there's something. And there's always a breaking news. Someone's getting sacked. Someone's done something stupid. So there's always stuff to cover. But thank you so much for following. And as I say, get in touch and we will see you soon.
We'll see you soon, guys. Thank you.